Hey guys, welcome back. Been a while since I got to post a video, and I'm gonna apologize ahead of time if I sound kind of congested and my voice squeaks because I am congested. Been some kind of viral thing, or might be sinuses. I think a lot of us could do with the change of the weather here in Kentucky. Going from 70 to 50 or 80 to 60 or whatever it is. But anyway, I had a vacation day today, and thought I'd go through and organize some stuff in another long box. Going to show a couple things I got in the mail recently. So anyway, my thing is lately I've been going through a lot of the long boxes, what I call like post Bronze Age or like the beginning of the Copper / Modern Age. I mean, everybody's got their own idea when one age began and ended, and to me, sort of like the end of the Bronze Age was like maybe 86 or 87. Other people might have their own stop and start point. That's fine. Whatever works for you, then that's what it is. That's just me. But I've been having a lot of fun. I forgot about how many good books, were like after that. So, and like I said, I'm a DC guy, so all the ones in this box were DC. And there's some mixed stuff, and there's some Marvel boxes. So I haven't gotten a lot of those yet. But this is the second box I've gone through, and just trying to write down what's in each box. Maybe not every number, but like at least every title. That way, when I want to go back and reorganize again, I'll know what's going on. But a lot of the stuff in here is like miniseries, maxi series, a lot of prestige books. What I'm talking about, like from late '80s, early '90s, the square bounds. And I'm all about the square bounds, no matter where it is or what time period. But anyway, just some stuff that I enjoyed. Here's a title I actually found. Didn't realize I had all of this title plus some specials and 80-page giants or whatever. But this was a really cool title. I think Higgy might have done a video on this, or he's going to do a video. I can't remember. But anyway, this is Legend of the DC Universe. This is issue 1. Just kind of, it's based like past stories. Just like a look at some stuff that might have been going on back in the 60s or 70s or 80s or whatever during that, I guess, during the Bronze Age period. But some cool stories. You got James Robinson on this, Val Simix, Paul Neary. There's a cool painted Superman cover. Here's another great story, illustrated and covered by Steve Rude, with Jimmy Olsen and Superman. You got Double X from Cadmus and The Guardian, all that going on by Steve Rude, the art, and Mark Vanier on the. So there's 41 issues of this, plus a couple 80-page giants, and a couple of special editions. Here's one of the 80-page giants. Here's a great one, Legends of the DC Universe, 80-page giant number 1, with a great painted Joe Kubert cover. There's one for you, Higgy. I'm sure you've got this book. But you got stories of Spectre, Teen Titans, Adam Strange, Kronos, Doom Patrol, Rip Hunter, and the Linear Man, and all kinds of like superstar talent. Buscema, Ditko, Gibbons, Helfer, Phil Jimenez, Jurgens, McLeod, Kevin Nolan, George Perez, James Robinson, Art Thilbert, Marvel Wolfman, Mike Zeck. Just a nice package, And here's like a 4-issue or a 4-part story that ran from issue 33 through 36, The Destroyer of Worlds, featuring the Spectre. Some great creepy covers there. And that's, I guess that's the Hal Jordan Spectre. Still, big fan of the Spectre. So I got some Legends of the DC Universe. And we have a Legends 3D gallery, which is pretty cool. And yes, this is complete with the glasses. So there you are. I know a lot of guys are into 3D books, and you can find this one really cheap. So Legends 3D. And here's one I really enjoyed. Legends of the DC Universe Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is like the untold story from Crisis, where Flash was going through the multiverse and he found a I guess it was Earth 6, maybe they called it. I'm not sure, but it was where the Justice League were like, it was multicultural and multi-ethnic Justice League, so it was pretty cool. Had like an Asian Flash and a African American Superman and Wonder Woman. Had a, I think a Hispanic Green Lantern and a Native American Green Arrows. Really cool story. Marv Wolfman, of course, he wrote Crisis, but you got Paul Ryan and Bob McLeod on the art. And even though Perez didn't do this, it really has a Perez feel to it. So I'll just kind of show you. Yeah, so this looks like what Perez would have done for Crisis, but it's Paul Ryan and Bob McLeod. And here you got Barry Allen meeting the Flash of that universe and his Justice League. So this was actually a chapter that happened, but you didn't see it in the original Crisis. So it's a really cool book. I think I'm losing my voice already. Here's a part one of a 4-part Prestige. That's really cool, by Joe Lansdale and Mark Nelson on the art. It's called Blood and Shadows. 4-part series, sort of like a horror, sci-fi, time traveling, Western. It's just, it's a lot of stuff. It's really, really got some really good art and really good story. It's creepy and gory and kind of, it's one of those. So good story. Found 3 of the 4 of those. I think this is a book that Higgy might have shown on his channel. Green Lantern, Superman, Legend of the Green Flame. The story in this was actually supposed to have appeared in Action Comics Weekly, and then for some reason, I think they explain in the forward why it didn't get done. But there's all kinds of art by Mike Allred, Terry Austin, Mark Buckingham, John Totalman, Matt Wagner, Eric Shanauer, Arthur Adams, Jim Aparo, and Kevin Nolan. So nice little story. You got Deadman guest starring in here. I think Superman, Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen. There's some Deadman by John Totalman. Actually pretty cool. I remember being a really good story. Got Phantom Stranger in here. I think there is actually a page of Phantom Stranger by Jim Aparo, if I can find it. Okay. Okay, got one page of Jim Aparo art on the Phantom Stranger there, so that's pretty cool. Another little Prestige series that I really enjoyed is called Twilight, written by Howard Chaykin, art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, and colors by Steve Oliff. It's a 3-issue series with they tried to they gathered a lot of the 60s DC sci-fi heroes together, like Tommy Tomorrow and Manhunter 2070, and this what was I think Space Cabbie might be in here. Knights of the Galaxy. Just a lot of cool stuff. There's the first issue of that. Here's a cool 4-issue miniseries, came out in '88, called The Weird, written by Jim Starlin and art by Bernie Wrightson and Dan Green. So cool series there, some Bernie Wrightson art. Another Prestige series, I found all 4 of these. This was probably late 80s, early 90s. Gilgamesh 2, written and drawn by Jim Starlin. Everybody knows the legend of Gilgamesh. This is sort of like a modern day sci-fi take on it. So actually the art is beautiful and the story is really good. And I'm sure everybody remembers Stan Lee on his little short tenure at DC. Just imagine this is Stan Lee and Joe Kubert doing Batman. So really, really cool book there. Another Prestige series. I found all of them. I'm just kind of pulling one issue from each series. But Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Tim Sale left us way too soon. I just love his art. But everybody that read this, you know about this. Just great story and art. Superman, The Doomsday Wars by Dan Jurgens and Norm Rapman. Another good little Prestige series if you're a Superman fan. And this is a favorite series of mine. It's an 8-issue, came out like in 90. And got 7 of the 8, but I think I got like another lot that had most or all of these issues in it because I was just missing that one book. I said, hey, why should you have one run when you can have 2 for twice the price? But this is Time Masters, 8-issue series, written by, is it Bob Wayne? Yeah, Bob Wayne and Louis Shiner are the writers, and Art Thibert is the penciler, and Jose Marzan Jr. But this is, I'm a sucker for a time travel story. So Time Masters, you got Rip Hunter, you got Booster Gold. They meet all kinds of characters coming and going. I mean, you got Jonah Hex and the Viking Prince, and of course the bad guy behind it all is Vandal Savage. Got the Justice League in here for a little bit. Just a lot of traveling back and forth through time. Really cool story. You find these in 50-cent boxes probably. And here we have a 2-issue series of Lois Lane from 1986 with written by Mindy Newell and art by Gray Morrow. So there you go. Great little 2-issue series. If you're a Lois Lane fan, I'm sure Silver Hair Bronze Age Babe Comics has got this. And we have a Green Lantern Corps Quarterly. I love these. I like Green Lantern, but they always have a story, and I think this lasted like 8 issues. But there's always a story with Alan Scott, and this particular issue has Alan Scott and the JSA in it. So that was what hooked me for this. And I think every other issue, pretty sure it has an Alan Scott story, so I'm probably trying to pick all those up at some point. Okay, here's a title. I think I bought a lot of these, like the first 11 issues. Here is issue 10, Teen Titans Spotlight. This is from 87, probably started in 86. Spotlight on Aqualad. I think this is a Bill Sienkiewicz cover. And there's some, stories with Jericho and Starfire and some other characters from Teen Titans. This is number 11. I'm really a fan of this book just for a weird reason. This is a Teen Titans Spotlight number 11, Spotlight on Brotherhood of Evil. And, of course, the character Warp, he can warp, it's like a teleporter. He can warp between dimensions and actually go a dimension where history was kind of different from the regular DC universe. And that was, supposedly that happened on Earth 11. So, cool little story. Joe Orlando did the art. I think probably Bruce Patterson did the inks on this cover. So a little oddball, if you're into the multiverse. And found a big chunk of my Starman run. I love it. James Robinson, Tony Harris, Wade Von Grawbadger. Later on, Peter Schneidberg. Just some great, Robinson was on the script all the way through. I don't have to tell anybody about this series that's read it. I mean, you already know how great it is. Here's Starman number 20. Probably found about half my run in this box. And here's number 42 with the original Starman and Etrigan, the demon. So just highly recommended. People haven't read Starman. Can't imagine there's many. And here's number 58 with a great Alex Ross painted cover. There's the Will Payton Starman, along with the Legion of Superheroes, Tom Keller Starman, or the one from Kingdom Come, or whatever story he was in at that time. Okay. And here's I think it's think all of these are like one series. Let's see how many of you remember the Aquaman miniseries from 1986 by Neil Posner and Craig Hamilton. I wasn't a fan of this costume when it first came out, but over the years it's kind of grown on me. But the story is really good, and the art is fantastic. I love Craig Hamilton's art. Here we have a newsstand copy and a direct sales copy. So there's one for you, Dr. Von Chilla. Issue 1. I think this is my original. It's pretty, I think it's kind of ripped loose from the staple, but 3 copies of number 1. There's number 2. Just a great little story. Probably find these in a dollar box. A lot of stuff gets passed up because it's in a cheap box. That's wrong. And number 3, great cover going against the Ocean Master. DC celebrating their 50 years from 35 to 85. And I got 3 copies of number 4 for some reason. That's why you need to get organized. Number 4. All right. Hopefully I can get through this. Got another little stack to show. But found a big chunk of the early Animal Man run, at least the Grant Morrison run. There's number 1. Another great series. You know, when Crisis on Infinite Earths happened at DC, I loved it. You know, there were a few things I didn't love. You know, they killed off some characters you never thought they'd kill off. But after they rebooted everything that time, there was a lot of great titles come out. And the more I got into it, the more excited I got. I mean, there's Animal Man. This is when you went to the new format and paper and cover. But you got these Brian Bolland covers, Grant Morrison, Trug and Hazelwood, like on these first 36 or 26 issues or so, maybe in the 30s. I think Morrison quit after 26. Another great miniseries. Don't have to tell you anything about this one, but I found all 4 of my issues in this box, so I was tickled to find them all. Batman the Cult, Jim Starlin, Bernie Wrightson, and Bill Ray. Must have for your collection. I found a part of the Death in the Family storyline. I think this is part 2, Batman 427, with that great Mike Mignola cover. Okay, before I show you more, I'll show you a couple things I got in the mail lately. I had seen this book on the Tomorrow's website, and I was like, well, I'm going to pick that up. And then for those of you that watched Captain Strangelife's 14-year YouTube anniversary, the guy that actually did this book was on there, the author, George Corey. But this is a great book from Tomorrow's, Comic Book Fever. Just kind of, dips his toe in the water from 76 to 86, which is like my prime reading and collecting time when I was younger. But lots of great stuff, and you got a great Alex Ross cover. You got Warlock. Just some oddball stuff. You got, they have these, what they call these icon pages. There's John Buscema, Human Fly, Elf Quest, the DC Dollar books. I just started reading this. Got a great article on Star Wars. Got the Hostess Twinkie ads. Got the street ball ads on the back of the comics. Dr. J and Rick Barry, love those. You got some John Carter, Miss Marvel. Just a lot of great articles in here. Of course, you got to have the X-Men. Got the Fireside books. You got Archie. Just anything. There's an article in here about Harvey Comics. Just a lot of great stuff. And George Corey, the guy that wrote this, he said, yeah, it was out of print. At Tomorrow's, you still get the digital edition, probably for $8 or $10. But I saw copies of this going online or anywhere from like $70 to $180, and I think it's maybe it's like a $35 cover price. But I actually found a copy at an online comic site called New Dimension Comics, ndcomics.com, I think, and they actually had one for cover price plus shipping. So I was really happy to get it. Like I said, I got my little tag in here. I've not read a bunch of it yet, but just some cool stuff. Features, G.I. Joe. They got, like I say, the icon pages. You got Garcia Lopez, who I mentioned earlier. So just a great book. And this other book, I saw it on, somebody had it on Facebook. I'm like in a Justice Society group. And, anything JSA, Golden Age characters related, I was all over it. I don't know how many of you were ever into the role-playing games. And I never was. I knew some people that were, but, it just wasn't in my sphere of comic book influence or whatever. But I thought this was pretty cool. Got a lot of great stuff on the inside, but this is the JSA Source book. So for all you JSA fans, like I say, it's not a graphic novel, but it's sort of like the old DC Who's Who. It'll have like pictures of the characters, a little bit of history, and then it'll have like a character on every page pretty much. And this goes from the Golden Age all the way up to like 2001, I think is when this came out. Yeah, 2001. Got the Injustice Society. There you have some schematics of the All-Star Squadron's headquarters. There's a lot of the role-playing stuff in here, the power, levels and all that kind of stuff. You got Alan Scott as Sentinel. There's some more villains. So actually a pretty cool book. I love this cover. I think it's Tom Grummett. And Rick Magar did the cover on this, so really, really cool here. So just another addition to the JSA paraphernalia, so we're really happy to have that. That's about the only two things I've got in the mail lately. Okay, back to my little long box find. Here's another favorite miniseries, man. I love this book to death. By J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen and David Hunt. Dr. Fate. 1 through 4. Great series. Number 1. I love these covers. Number 2. I think this might have been a continuation of the Dr. Fate stuff that Keith Giffen was doing in the backups in Flash before Crisis hit. So this is another one of those post-Crisis books I keep talking about. This is 1987. We got the Justice League International guest starring. I don't know if they're trying to take a bite out of crime or somebody's trying to take a bite out of them. Remember this being a really good story. Another great cover. The last part here is number 4. Okay. Another key book, in my opinion. Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. Action Comics 583 by Swan and Murphy Anderson. Alan Moore did this story. I think the other part is in Superman 423, I think. Yeah, 423. And this is the conclusions in Action 583. This is right before John Byrne took over on the Superman titles. So pretty cool. And speaking of Action Comics, here's part 1 of one of my favorite storylines. It's Action 858. This goes through Action 863. Jeff Johns and Gary Frank did the Superman and Legion of Superheroes story. One of my favorites. Big Legion fan, and it's got him going back to team up with the Legion. And this kind of shows the first meeting. I love Gary Frank's art. And the Superman, he always kind of makes him look like Christopher Reeve, so that's another reason. Okay, we've got some Swamp Thing stuff. Swamp Thing Annual. This is from the second run of Swamp Thing. This is annual number 3 with a great Ron Ballin cover Swamp Thing, and I think that's Congorilla. So a really cool story there. Not sure who does the art. Let's take a look. Let's take a looky-loo. Okay, we got Rick Veitch. We got Rick Veitch and Sean McManus and Stan Walk and somebody named Firm, and Tom Yates is the inker. So got some cool stuff going on here. Lots of great artists. So big fan of Swamp Thing. And here's issue 83 of the second series. This is after Rick Veitch took over. This is Rick Veitch, Tom Mandrake, and Alfredo Alcala. It's kind of the storyline where he was jumping back and forth through time. And here he meets up with the Hammer of Hell, enemy Ace. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, let's see if I can get through this. Rod might have to do all the talking tomorrow on the comic book memories. Swamp Thing 46, Crisis crossover.